Often I find I have a wonderful combination of being able to focus on something for hours, even days at a time, and being totally absorbed by it, and also at the same time being one of the world's greatest procrastinators, thinking about what I should do but failing to start. For me, a small added complication is that I have had this mindset on YouTube when doing artwork to try and get something to a stage in which it's bearing fruit and I'm happy for people to see it in such a state, or that it has to be finished. This doesn't help my procrastination, as my mind fills with the dread of how I'll get started and what will take days to complete, let alone is it really for me, or is it just to keep feeding the matrix? Sorry, I mean social media. It doesn't help me creatively as well, as it means I tend to stick with what I know or have at least built enough confidence in, but I don't always crack on with building new skills. One of the great things moving to Japan allowed me to confront 2 years ago was that I needed to invest serious time into improving my skills, not just because I had time, but also because the solitude of the first year here meant that I could hear my heartbeat so loudly, even though it scared me to admit it. By having swallowed the truth, I began to start taking risks and truly start improving. But I have to be careful not to get too comfortable with my skills. I want to express a whole multitude of things in my imagination, things that are beyond my current pen skills, but as Placebo sung in Passive Aggressive, concentrate, it's in your reach. And part of this has been because I have held myself to unreasonable standards. Instead, I gradually began to accept I'm human. I'm flawed and I have limitations, but I should embrace these as the kinks that make me unique and able to express the things in only the way that I can. And for that, I need just enough skills and just enough confidence to be able to do that. To make that happen, since I arrived in Japan, I started keeping sketchbooks, and for the most part, I don't share the contents of these. I keep them to myself and do them for myself. Gradually over the past 2 years, I have progressed hugely in my abilities both in drawing characters, but also gradually with landscapes. This is important because fundamentally the reason I am writing a manga is just that. I have a story to tell in me that is burning so fiercely and has been for years, and it's only getting more intense as time goes on. And having looked at the various ways I could possibly tell this story, manga is the most authentic way for me to do so, and will allow me to express this story in a way that I feel fits it best. But to do so adequately has required skills, so I want to talk about 2 things. The first is the importance of starting, and second, the sketchbook's purpose in conquering both procrastination and also improving skills. First, the importance of just starting. When I started drawing a manga, it was off the back of about 6 months of just working on basics, and looking back at part 1 now, and indeed part 2, I can already see how much I've improved in the meantime. You can even see my first test run of the manga on a video I made about 2 years ago now. But critically, I have acknowledged I wouldn't be where I am now if I had waited until I was supposedly ready, as it's likely that I would never have been. I started at a point where I had just about enough confidence to just about get away with it. I acknowledge the artwork isn't the best, and one day I'll revisit parts 1 and 2 to revise the artwork. But crucially, just getting started meant that I started relieving that pent-up procrastination and churn in my head of this idea and indeed whole story that I had formed. It was like lancing a saw, and it eased the pressure. I felt a lot better, and it kept me stoked to work on that next part, and the next, and so forth. It has given me just enough confidence that if I keep working hard, I can do this. I will come back to this after summing up my second thing I wanted to talk about, the sketchbooks. I keep 2 at a time, one which is generally characters and mostly pencil, where I just imagine poses for my characters and then draw them. Sometimes they are drawn from a photo reference, but increasingly, with the practice, I can draw standard poses without too much external input or inspiration. That again has only happened because I kept on drawing and trying to constantly iterate. A small sketchbook keeps the composition complexity down and allows me to complete sketches in the time available to me, say at lunchtime or half an hour in an evening. This means I get some reward for not only completing a sketch, it also helps prevent a build-up of procrastination brought about by dwelling on how on earth I'll fill a piece of B4 or A3 paper. I don't necessarily complete every sketch, as some I lose interest in and some just don't work, but I leave them there as reminders of the things I can come back to, or just learning points. My sketchbooks aren't intended to be for public consumption, they are for me to express myself freely without anyone's judgment but my own. My other sketchbook is my ink sketchbook, which I'm showing here, and admittedly at that, only a few pages thereof. This, like the character sketchbook, is a procrastination buster and skills advancer. My hack using modern clickbait language is this: I draw mostly miniature landscapes and details. Within a 6x6 inch square page roughly, I draw lots of little vignettes, most taking no more than 5 to 10 minutes a piece. I can try ideas of things I need to draw in a manga, which will have to be in ink without the pressure of having to complete it for public consumption, or indeed complete it at all. I have steadily devised ways that work to my liking, that express how certain things can be drawn: trees, bushes, streetlights, buildings, water, waves, clouds, mountains, you name it, all sorts. Small scenes allowed me to advance these skills quicker, I think, as I focused on just a few details, which allowed me to see where I went wrong quicker and also what worked. And gradually these can be worked into bigger scenes for the manga more competently. Because I can complete one of these vignettes in no time at all, I don't dwell on getting started. It's easy, just 5 minutes, one small thing. Most of the time it's for no purpose, it's just to let my imagination flow out onto the page, and by doing so, it allows me to find the pen strokes that best articulate the scene, the lighting and so forth. In many ways it reminds me of black and white photography, considering how the highlights and shadows affect the overall scene. To this end, personal sketchbooks are fantastic. My last thoughts in this video are about the social media element. I want you to ignore me, and I want you also to ignore other people on the internet who share their sketchbooks. By that, I mean watch them, but don't take it to heart that every page of your sketchbooks has to be pristine and well executed. Sometimes what we see on social media is just not attainable, and neither should it be. I'm not for 1 minute suggesting that some people are fabricating their sketchbooks. I am not. In fact, what I'm saying is sometimes we have to be humble enough to accept that there are, inverted commas, better artists than us out there. But that doesn't mean we're bad, or we don't have potential, or that we don't have ideas worthy of expressing. But please don't take people's sketchbook videos to symbolise what a sketchbook should be. I honestly say that my first sketchbook is around 98% of stuff that isn't great, and I'm not being hard on myself, but I had to draw all of that and more to get to where I am now. Take a long-term view, start now, because if you leave it, you'll leave a part of you unexpressed, and that's sadder than anything, taking your imagination and its potential to the grave. You are an impossible combination of this universe that has come together at this one point in time, and for you alone, you need to express that magic that you hold within you, because when you do, it will radiate from you. All this belief in good ut and bad ut, shame and doubt, is a socially taught construct that doesn't exist. Free yourself from it. Don't compare yourself to others. Just do you.